And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Zipshan people. Simply put, holding space means showing up for someone, being fully present and without judgment as you sit with that person through their difficult time. You'll listen fully, you allow yourself to feel their pain and negative emotions so they don't have to do it alone. On today's Open Connection, we meet 4 women who share how they hold space for change.
I do a lot of things and I wear a lot of hats, but I've been working in the oil and gas industry for 25 years. I've worked for the government, I've worked for big industry, I worked for small service companies, and I also have the honor of serving my nation now as the elected family representative of the Shuquak and Howdigat families. But with that, like everybody here, I'm also, I guess sons, but we're daughters, we're granddaughters, we're great-granddaughters. And how many of us are mothers? How many of us are sisters? I know we're all cousins. But we have friendship, right? So we all have a place and we all can collectively, be together and listen to each other. And that's what I really hope, this conversation is about today, is doing all of those things. Because we all do stuff. When we leave this room today, after spending a couple of days together, we're going to go back to our lives. We're going to go back, to whether we're, washing the dishes or picking up the kids or going to work. But we can all walk away with something after these past few days of memory, of creating connection. I created connection last night with Mildred and Chantel from Lake Babine Nation, who were very kind to me and, welcomed me, as well as the other women from Lake Babine, to sit at their table and have dinner with them. And it's those small things that I'll take away as value. And, I left pieces of my energy with them and pieces of my heart and vice versa.
So I was born and raised in Quesnel. I shortly after moved to Bellacoola Valley, where I spent the last 30 years. I had a cafe there for the last 8, which finished about a year ago. So I did the entrepreneur thing, and I didn't have a good support system. I'm here to learn to build connections. I'm here to learn how to not do everything by myself. I'm here to learn more than I feel like maybe I even have to offer, but all I can offer is my art, my stories, and hoping to make connections. I think connection is so important, and sometimes when you're not a local in a very tiny village, it's very hard to make connections. And I think that the Bellacoola Valley is a beautiful place, but it left me really stranded for a really long part of my life. So now I'm rebuilding, foundation up, and I want to work with women to empower them through their creativity, because that is what saved me. I did the masculine patriarchal model of building a business, of being independent, of really hit the top. I was successful, had lots of money, and it burnt me out because I didn't have the support systems I needed. And so if I can share my story and people can learn from that, then that's wonderful. And if I can empower people to be creative again, because I think we're all artists. I think life teaches us how to not be artists, it's really, really stripped us of that super important way of communicating with spirit, I guess I would call it. I think First Nations people have an amazing ability to keep their connection to the arts. I really, really admire that. In Bellacoola was a very large First Nations community, and there's so many wonderful artists that keep doing their art, and they don't view it the same as the white community does. Like, I had been told, you'll never make it. You won't get anywhere. You won't make money. Well, I'll show you. So now I'm a full-time artist. I want to start teaching classes in the Bulkley Valley once I get myself organized and and lay the foundation. So yeah, I think all my socials are on the website and stuff for the Nation to Nation, or you can come talk to me if anybody wants to do that.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. 8 years ago, she envisioned a safe place where industry, elected officials, and Indigenous communities could meet to engage about economic development and do business with First Nations. Let us rejoin the conversation with founder and creator of Nation to Nation events, Lisa Mueller.
I knew that me and you were soul sisters somehow because I was born in Bella Coola. So yeah, when we, I'll tell you a little quickly connection how me and Ty, and I call her Ty for short because I have a hard time with her name. So she showed up on my doorstep, I think a couple of months ago, and I was like, oh, I love this gal. She needs to hang out with me more. I need to hang out with her more. And so she told me she was from Bella Coola, or just moved from Bella Coola, and so that's where I was born. And stayed in Bella Coola till I was 3. And then my mom and dad, and I have 7 siblings, actually still all have my, super thankful to have all my siblings still, but we've lost both of our parents over the past 4 years. But my mom is from Anaheim Reserve, and then my dad is from Germany, so that's where I get the Mueller last name, so half German and half Chilcotin. Everyone always says that's good and bad. I say it's pretty cool. Yeah, and so spent most of my life in the Caribou Chilcotin and grew up in Risky Creek. So really cool story. I ran into Jane in the background there. Just give a wave. So this is crazy. I grew up in Risky Creek with my granny, which is my mom's mom, Louisa Jeff. And we lived just not too far down the road from Jane. Jane has a ranch there. And we, every summer, used to go down there with my grandma and mom and stuff, and we would camp down there at the river and pick berries and do our fish there, catch our fish and harvest our fish and so forth. And when Jane came into the room yesterday, she asked if I remembered her, and I had to look at her name to remember her because I was quite small, but we used to go to her ranch all the time. And she traveled all this way, her and her friend Lucy, to come and be with us over these last few days, and it's her first time up here. And talk about connections. I thought that was just so cool to see someone that I have not seen almost most of my life. And now here we are connecting again. And just goes to show, how we all connect along our journeys, sometimes for a long time and sometimes as new people. And so it's been really fun to be here these last couple of days. And so born and raised in Williams Lake. I graduated in Williams Lake when I was 18 and haven't been there since, but it is my home and a lot of my siblings are still there. But I've resided up in Karis for the past 15 plus years. And then just recently with my partner Ryan, we've been in Houston for the past 4 years.
I might fool you all right here and look graceful, but don't be fooled. I'm likely to trip, and nobody wants to see me dance. But that's okay, that's part of life, is being gentle with yourself, being forgiving with yourself, being able to laugh at yourself when you do stumble, when you do trip, but also, celebrate those moments when you show up with grace, when you can, show up with all of those actions, that that your ancestors have prayed for, that you prayed for. And so I think, that's what it's about. I'm a mom. And how did I get to where I am now through all of the struggles? It's definitely, I felt, and not everybody feels that way, but I felt like I was meant to be a mom since I was a little girl. And so, and then I get emotional. But you know what I was thinking about? We seen tears and stuff earlier today and yesterday. And I'm like, tears and emotion, that's our power. That's our superpower. Water is the most powerful thing. So when we shed those tears, that's powerful, right? So when I talk about my children, I get emotional. My oldest son just finished his final exam in his second year of university. He attends the University of British Columbia in Kelowna. He's taking engineering. And right now he has straight A's. Wow. I'm like, we live in a world where at one time our kids weren't supposed to go to school. We weren't even supposed to exist. And now I have a son who's finishing university, he already has a job lined up. And I have a daughter, Milena, she's graduating this year. And she's special in her own way. She walks her own path, and she creates her own path. And I'm proud of that. And I have my youngest son, Christopher, who's 15, who, holy man, he's just doing rugby. He's doing CrossFit, he's doing rugby. He's went from my little muchacho baby to like this buff kid. But that's why I do what I do. And that's what gives me that strength every day. And my father, he's since moved on to the spirit world. But it's through those realms of family and connection that allows me to do what I do and show up the way I do.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Georgia O'Keeffe's life and work changed in many ways, including moving to New Mexico to be alone and independent and creating 2 homes there. She made choices that affected her personal life to be able to make the work she wanted to make. Let us return to the conversation as Tahiri shares how she created space for change.
I think that the biggest thing that made the change happen was that I decided to be true to myself. But I think that is the one thing that has made me be okay through the whole change, is that I knew without a doubt now that I was being true to myself. In my previous life that had just happened over the last 20 years, I think that, especially as women, we try to please everybody. We try to fix everybody. We try to force things the way we think they should go. And I really had fallen into that pattern. As a child, I was the golden child in the family. I was the fixer. I was the one that made sure dad didn't yell. Keep the peace, make sure the brother and sister are not doing stuff to make dad yell. Whatever you do, don't make dad yell. So as I grew, I realized that I was always the one trying to control the scene by keeping people happy. And I did that in my cafe. I overworked myself because I didn't want people to be disappointed. And in not being true to what I wanted, I actually thought that that's what I wanted, was just to make everybody happy. It never occurred to me to ask what made me happy. I just thought what made me happy was making everybody else happy. And after the burnout started to kick in, I realized that wasn't true. And I really had to look at myself and go, what do I want? What do I actually want? And it came down to art. I've always been an artist. It's always been the thing that I could go to. When dad yelled too much, I could go in the corner and draw and give him a pretty picture. And then, I would get praise. As I grew, I was bullied lots by kids. But if I drew them a picture, they would be happy, right? And it's so, even from a really young age, art saved me. And so as I became true to myself, sadly, everybody else that relied on me not being true to myself started to disappear. My marriage fell apart because that relationship depended on me making everybody else happy. My business fell apart because I couldn't actually hold it together by myself anymore, and I didn't have the support systems to help me keep it open. And so I think how I started to recover was that I found my people. And in order to find your people, you have to know yourself. It still goes back to that being true to yourself. But as I became true to myself, I started to find my people. And then those people, they held me up. And I can't call them my aunties. Some of them were younger than me that just had more wisdom. But some of them just really looked after me. And that's how I ended up here, actually, in the area. adopted parents. They're the ones I would adopt as my parents if I could do that. They let me stay with them a lot. They fed me. They gave me a room. They looked after me when I couldn't keep myself together, and I kept gravitating towards the area. And so, just the finding support, finding the people, and yeah, I guess I think that's all I have to say about that right now.
I think lately how I've been navigating changes with the seasons, and Kalina was like, "I think you talked about the seasons," and I was like, "Yeah, probably," because lately I just been really grounding down into watching how like Mother Nature changes. We have 4 seasons that we go through, and especially this winter, I really was paying attention to that in regards to how we individually are navigating change by ourselves and internally, because we're all so busy, and we're all wearing multiple hats, and we're all showing up to do the job of 3, and we're really wearing ourselves thin and so forth, and there's a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot going on in our own lives, right? We have children and husbands and spouses and so forth, and we carry a lot of weight on our shoulders. And so really this year and the past years, just been really tuning into how, the seasons go into the winter. I always, pay attention to like, the animals go away in the winter, like the bears to hibernate and to rest and to like take the time. The light gets, lesser. And it's there for a reason. It's for us to slow down as well with the earth. The earth is slowing down for the winter, and, some animals are going away for the winter, and us humans, we're so lately just conditioned to just go, 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 but we forget to tune into ourselves and also what's going on in the universe.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
With the arrival of spring season, we're all given the opportunity to take nature's cue, emerge from our winter slumber, and seek out new beginnings. It's a perfect time to think about our own intentions or goals for the year ahead. In this final segment of Open Connection, Lisa shares why she chose spring to host Nation and Nations Women's Gathering.
So yeah, this winter I've really slowed down, with the season. And then also, there's a reason I put the women's gathering into this spring. And the reason I chose April is because April is like the new beginning. All the flowers start to bloom, and it starts to get green again, and our light gets longer, and we're looking for change ourselves as women, right? Are we in the right career? Do we need to change our path? Are we going to be an entrepreneur? How are we going to show up in the world as a leader? And so I've just been really following the seasons lately with my own life. And then, usually in the summertime, it's a lot of family stuff. You're going out camping, you're taking time off work. Usually that's, when we try to do our holidays and so forth. And that's when Ryan and I usually do a lot of camping and head out in our RV and so forth. And just really trying to flex with the universe and flex with the energy of life, because sometimes I find just lately we're really moving away from our ground roots and who we are culturally and everything else, but also just tuning into the whole world as well in the universe. And so that's how I've been really navigating change, and just watching around me what's going on, and just feeling it out and being okay with that. I've been really, Ryan will probably disagree with me here, but I've been really okay with like not getting a lot done, or where we have to wrap up in our busy times, and also taking that downtime. And I'm really super fortunate and grateful that I get to work from home and so forth. But you just just being easier on ourselves. I think that's one thing, if we leave here today, is just to take ourselves off the hook on being so hard on ourselves, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that are always so hard on ourselves, always pushing for ourselves to change and do better, and to just to be in our space, and that's what we talked about a lot over these last couple of days, just own our space and whatever that looks like, and it's okay.
But, hearing you talk about the seasons really makes me think about like the medicine wheel, right? And when I think of the medicine wheel, I think of those 4 seasons and how we as humans kind of flux in that space, but also coming back to that when we think of how we ebb and flow through change, in respect to, but how does that balance out, with our spiritual side, our emotional side, our mental side and physical side? Because we know if any of those 4 are out of whack, it's going to affect those other pieces. So how we take care of ourselves in those spaces, including this season, and recognizing that our energy will increase, especially, with all of the beautiful flowers, starting out now and the new growth. And we might feel that high, and then when it gets darker, we might feel that low, but being able to take care of ourselves as those changes are happening and to try to be aware of that is super important too.
I agree totally. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, to hearing? Or
I would just reiterate, I love that idea of allowing ourselves to be as the season. In the winter, every other mammal slows down. Lots of them hibernate. They conserve their energy. The wintertime should be our time for like rest, but also it's like when the seeds go into the ground in the winter, they're not dead. They're just gaining nutrition to bloom in the spring. And then in the spring, we have more energy. There's more sun. We allow our gifts to come out, or allow ourselves to be more busy, allow ourselves to do what that energy is calling for. In the summer, we ripen our gifts. We give them out to the world like the harvest, right? And then back into the fall, where we're starting to slow down and starting to maybe, anyway, I can't find the words for what I'm trying to express, but yeah, like to be more cyclical and to allow ourselves to be more like the seasons. I think that's beautiful.
And my head's not in the clouds in regards. I know that not everyone can take a season off. I wish we could, but then where is that space in regards to maybe you're taking, a Sunday off, or maybe you're taking a weekend off. And if you can't do, full seasons, I'm not saying I take the whole season off. I wish, but I just slow down. And, to those that, have to work full time, and, we all have a million things going on and have to, make a living and so forth. But maybe those little moments are, a weekend away, or maybe they're a Sunday. I know at home I have a real strong, every Sunday is like, we call it Lisa Day around my house, but every Sunday I take the day off and I disconnect from my phone all day. You can only get through to me on my phone if it's a super bad emergency. Otherwise, I don't check anything on Sundays. And, it's usually I watch TV, go for walks, I read books. I just, it's my day around the house, and nobody gets to me. And, not even Ryan, he knows those days are, off grounds for asking anything. So he usually does his own thing on Sunday as well. But I think we just have to honor ourselves in those little spaces wherever there, and create our own little space in our own house and life. And maybe that's out in the afternoon for a walk or something, right? We just have to get our own little rituals to find that space. It doesn't have to be a whole 3 months, but it can just be, a whole 3 hours. So it's just any little space that's ours.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.